watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really wanna talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, and he likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, and my co-host this week is Matt, who I always enjoy having as a co-host because, you know what, Matt? We're going to get through this thing in less than an hour. And we're going to get an early bedtime, which matters a lot to me because I'm fucking old now. And that's the key to my podcasting game, just early bedtime.
You know, everything you said is true, but especially the part about you being old now.
Yes.
You know, that part is especially true. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you know, we keep it tight between the two of us.
Phrasing. I forgot to add that the other reason that I really like having you as a co-host is all the compliments you lavish upon me. Just really inflating my ego. Just, you make me feel so good about myself, buddy.
I mean, like, why else am I here, right? You know?
Exactly. All right. So we are talking Survivor 44, episode 2. Matt, of course, you were not here last week because it was the A-team, as it were. So obviously, I'm going to ask you how you're feeling about this episode, but you may as well include your thoughts about the first episode as well.
So I like this episode a lot better than I did the first episode. The first episode had a bit too much people getting injured and bleeding and having to leave the game or otherwise being compromised. Not a big fan of that. And then, of course, the weird tribal at the end of the first episode left a sour taste in my mouth after everything else. This episode, you know, yes, it's more straightforward, but we also got to know a lot of the characters better. There are people that I'm finding that I identify with more, and I think the tribe that went to Tribal Council was a pretty interesting tribe. So, yeah, I like this episode.
Okay, and speaking of last week's episode, now, does it play slightly differently for you now that we have the hindsight knowledge of Matthew's shot in the dark play? Because I had speculated last week that this might actually be a reason that he was doing this, that he was trying to intentionally abstain. He wasn't necessarily afraid for his own safety. It was just more about like not showing his cards. And then he very explicitly said in the start of this episode, that's exactly what I was doing. So A, shout out to me for being right. And B, did it change your view of last week's episode?
It made me regard Matthew as a bit of a coward. I don't think it's smart to, you know, like, I don't know what that gains him to abstain. You know, like, I understand that he thinks it gains him something. He thinks that, you know, it preserves different alliance types, but people don't, you know, like, change alliances all the time. They vote one person off and then they go back, especially early in the game. Like, just choose a side, man. Come on.
Well, my high school health teacher would tell you that there's plenty of benefits to abstaining. In fact, there was just an entire 9 weeks full of conversations about such things. I think I at least saw the argument. And I think generally, too, that I value the shot in the dark so low. Yeah. Like, I put such a low value on it that wasting it doesn't feel like a big deal because the odds that it's going to come through for you and it's going to be like, it's sort of like the extra vote thing. The limited situations where it might actually help you, like, I don't think he gave up much in abstaining. And if it gave him even a like fraction of an advantage in that, like, maybe Brandon was like, oh, no, you really were with me and he can repair that alliance and he's at least not the next target. That's something.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think he would be the next target anyway. You know, I don't know. It's kind of like, okay, so Brandon, you know, basically won this vote, essentially, and what does that mean going forward? I don't think how Matthew voted would change that. I mean, that's the way I look at it, at least. So
it's entirely possible. But what I'm saying is the risk you took in playing that shot in the dark is so low that the reward can also be so incredibly small that it doesn't really matter.
And that's fair, but I would still like to have the shot in the dark in my pocket, not because it would come through, but because people do consider it in their calculations when they're making plans. And if their plan is to vote out Matthew in the future, they have to make a much simpler plan because they don't have to consider a shot in the dark.
I mean, I personally would rather have the shot in the dark in my pocket just so people can say, is that a shot in the dark in your pocket? It'd be fun. And speaking of such flirty fun lines.
Wow, what a transition.
What a
you
segue.
Are on a game today.
Killing it. I'm on fire this week. All right. So, your namesake, Matt, got into a bit of a little cutesy, flirtatious relationship with Franny in this episode. Hey, did you know, by the way, Matt was recently dumped? He got out of a long-term relationship. I don't know if that had been brought up previously.
I feel like it's something that I heard, but I can't say for sure. So
you have seen this man on your television for slightly over 2 hours by this point, and I think it might have come up maybe once or twice.
I don't know if anything else has come up from him, so...
It is the one-note character arc for him that they've mostly left behind. It is funny, though. I think for me, last season had so many, these, just brutal backstories and, we're doing flashbacks and, sepia-toned, photographs and the sad harp music is coming in. And in this case, it's just oh yeah, he's talking about the thing that 99% of the audience has experienced. Oh, you had a relationship end. Oh, that sucks. Okay, at least that's a relatable thing. It's not oh, I lost my leg when I was 17 and oh, I mean, I guess that sounds terrible, but I wouldn't know what that feels like. At the very least, I was yeah, no, I get you, buddy. We've all been there.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, no. His story is much more relatable. Like Cody's story last year about his friend that lost his leg and then, oh, by the way, also died, Yeah,
also, there's a fun caveat to that. Later he died. Yeah. Anyway.
Still my favorite part of last season.
Oh, man. So what were your thoughts on the Matt and Franny showmance?
I like it. Early on, you're just trying to, give some simple reason to latch on to people to know what they're about. Otherwise it's just kind of what is this person's vibe from the 5 seconds I see of them, on the tribe that's never going to go to tribal council. These two, he's the dumped guy who's, rebounding hard for someone on island. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. He's funny about it. I'm fine with it being one note, especially for now. If they last a very long time, I'd obviously want some shading to that. But for now, yeah, I'm cool with it.
My wife thought it was absolutely adorable and then instantly became a fan of that tribe. And yet, despite thinking it was adorable, what she enjoyed even more was Claire's reaction to hating that romance and rolling her eyes and just the disgust in her face. I was okay, well, this is my favorite tribe. Can we see more of them? I had similar thoughts in that, and I think someone in our comments also brought up, I think in previous seasons, the tendency has been the uber hot of the tribe have been oh, it's generally people who weren't big Survivor fans, right? It's just people who, they were struggling actors or bartenders or something, and then Survivor cast them because they were pretty. And it's oh, I'm out here playing a game, but also there's someone hot, so I may as well treat it like I'm on The Bachelor. And those feel familiar. This feels much more to me like something like a season 1, Greg and Colleen type thing, where it's oh, that's cute and semi-organic.
I feel like this is the showmance that people kind of wanted Kristen and Gabby to be.
Yeah, I mean, and that one, as that season went on, we clearly realized, oh yeah, no, the the guy had his girlfriend come out to visit him. This was not this was not a showmance. They're just friends. Yeah. That's just a thing that happens sometimes. And honestly, like the way that Matt is falling so hard and so fast, and it's like, come on, buddy. You understand the rebound dynamic, right? Like are you bracing yourself? Do you know what's happening here?
It is so clearly just such like a rebound infatuation that I think it actually makes it a lot better. Like I think knowing it in the context that Matt was recently dumped, which I don't know if you knew that, but
I gotta add that to my notes. Hang on, let me scribble that down.
But knowing it in that context, I think makes it a lot better because it's really like nah, this ain't lasting. This is just Matt's infatuation because he got dumped, and this is pure rebound.
That said, it's cute.
It is.
Like, I mean, I'm not that much of a hard ass. Like there's a softie in here somewhere. That's gotta be some phrasing in there.
I think you were looking for a tight ass. No, that's not it. No, never mind.
Yeah, no. Anyway, I enjoyed it, and they're dorks, and I enjoy dorks on my television.
Yes,
so,
yes. My one hope is that if this tribe does go to tribal council, or if one of them gets voted out for the fact that they are in a showmance, it's not Franny just as the default woman, as usually happens.
Right. It would be fun to have like that flipped on its head, right?
Yeah.
Just for someone to be like, all right, this guy Matt is just this is too much. We need him gone. We need Franny around. She's the level head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that would be a very fun twist on the genre. So yeah.
It would be. All right. Now that we've moved past the two people on this cast that share your name, let's talk about some idols, because last week we obviously found out that within those bird cages are immunity idols, and also fakes. So in this episode, we got both of the remaining tribes opening those bird cages. Danny goes in, gets it, no issues whatsoever, puts the bag back, and still sets off no alarm bells within his tribe. But Danny also happened to show us, what he got from within that bag. The idol from that, I believe, was the coin.
Yes.
And that was the idol. Now, Carolyn also got into her bird cage, opened the bag as well, didn't do a bang-up job in re-securing that bag.
Understatement.
She didn't secure the bag, as it were.
She did not secure the bag, yes.
And so she holds up an idol and a fake idol. In her case, I believe the fake idol was a coin. And so, do you think Carolyn merely got confused? Or is this an actual thing that production is doing in making idols and fakes look roughly similar across the tribes?
I'll be completely honest. I don't know. My initial thought was, oh, Carolyn got confused. I then immediately thought, well, actually, are we sure about that? I didn't think there was evidence. We didn't see the note from her. I don't think they would have different ones, but maybe they would, because then that way people, you could use the fakes more easily, because if people know what the idol looks like on one tribe, then they would know that, oh, this isn't an idol. So if they mix it up per tribe, well, that could change things up. But yeah, no, I'm legitimately unsure, and I kind of really hope that Carolyn got confused.
Now, see, I like how you initially said, like, oh, Carolyn got confused. Well, that didn't make sense. Of course it makes sense. It's Carolyn.
I didn't say it didn't make sense.
You're saying you didn't think that would be it. Of course that could be it, because it's Carolyn.
Right, of course it could, right? Yes.
All right. So my theory is that she was not at all confused. I think what they probably did, and what I kind of hope they did actually, is that like on one tribe, the coin is the idol. Yeah. On the other tribe, the coin is the fake idol, and the beads are the idol, and vice versa. So then when you get to the merge, someone will show you like, oh, don't worry, I've got an idol. And they show you the coin. You, having gotten the idol in the other tribe and knowing that the coin is a fake in your bag, will be like, oh, someone is punking you. This is amazing.
Right. Now.
And then assume that this person has a fake idol, when in reality, it's their real idol. So that it sort of adds this element of confusion to the game.
I actually think either way could be really entertaining. If Carolyn's confused, and especially if she then uses the quote unquote fake to give to someone else, that would be just like one of the greatest results I've ever seen. Of a person playing themselves.
It truly would. Just imagine her trying to scam someone by giving them the quote unquote fake idol, but she gave them a real one because she hadn't read the directions well.
Yeah, I mean, that would be.
And then that person plays the idol and saves themselves, and Carolyn's just sitting there like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened?
No, that would be one of the greatest results we'd ever seen on the show. But here's the thing. The other possibility, the one you suggest, would also be really entertaining. And would lead to really funny comeuppance. Now, the one reservation I have about the idea that there's different, it's a different idol or fake on different tribes is the fact that we have 3 tribes. So there's going to be 2 tribes that have the same one that's the idol and the same one that's the fake if they are different. And I think that would lessen the impact. So and that's why I'm a little hesitant to think that it might be, it might be different ones across the tribes.
I think they tried to make them look as trinkety as possible, which is a common thing of late. And then more specifically, I think, just my hypothesis, that there's something to the fact that the fake idol of one tribe is the actual format or the form of an idol on another tribe. And I hope that comes to some hilarious conclusions at some point.
Me too. Because, that's the type of entertainment that I want to see. I mean, I'm a big fan of this birdcage idea in general. I like the way they've done it. I like the execution. I like the fact that it can lead to, they can lead to these type of shenanigans. I like the public nature of it, but also that you can get around the fact that it's public and the fact that if you are sloppy, then people will still know that someone got in that cage like they did with Carolyn. So I'm a fan of the birdcage.
I had the thought in watching the way that Carolyn did not secure that bag. I had the thought man, now obviously production would be like, okay, smartass, you can't reach in with a stick and try to fish the idol out. However, could you just reach in with a stick, sort of tug the bag open to make it look as though it had been disturbed, just to screw with your tribe and sow divisions and oh my God, did someone get that idol? And whispering going on. Could you do that just for shits and giggles? That seems like a Tony move. Tony might do something like that. Although realistically, Tony would have hunted that entire island until he found that key.
Yeah, no, he would find the key immediately.
He would not have slept for 72 hours because he would be checking every possible hiding place. Yeah. But all the same, is that allowable? Who knows? They just never tell us. On that same train of thought, though, there are different things that Andy and I slightly touched on last week, too. For instance, could you put the fake idol back into the bag along with the real note and then resecure it and lock it up? And is it possible that Danny did that? Because we didn't get much follow-up on what happened other than Danny put the bag back in and locked it up.
I think Danny kept the fake. I don't know, but I think we saw him holding both, and then we saw him putting the bag back. So maybe he put the fake back in the bag and put it back. I feel like Danny had a greater understanding of what he was being given.
You think that Danny had a better grasp on the reality of the situation than Carolyn? I'm glad I'm sitting down right now.
I'm not on a limb here. You know that. That's me. I'm bold predictions, bold statements. That's why you have me.
This is a hot take from you. It really is.
Coming in hot, Stephen A. Smith style.
Look at image.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like he put it back, but, I think he kept it, sorry. I feel like Danny had enough time to kind of think about how he wanted to play it. Let me put it that way. So maybe, I think he's thinking about how he can use the fake, not just how he can kind of keep the attention away from himself.
You may be right. However, I think just the way that this show has been edited in recent seasons, I think the way they edited that whole sequence certainly leads to an opportunity down the road where they could do a flashback.
Yes.
And show Danny putting the fake idol and the real note back into the bag.
I agree.
And rehiding that key somewhere. Like, that wouldn't surprise me if that came up later on.
Yeah, if he had the foresight to put it back in, the real note, and rehide the key, that would be a lot of fun. That would be great. Let's just be honest.
I mean, it would definitely raise my estimation of Danny, which wouldn't take a lot because I don't think that it was super high to begin with. Not that it was terribly low. I just didn't have much in the way of a thought on Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think Danny's handling of the idol impressed me so far. You know, obviously it matters more what you do with it than just are you able to get the bag back in the cage without anyone noticing. You know, that's a pretty low bar. Not everyone clears it, but that's a pretty low bar.
And speaking of which, so the Green Tribe, we'll switch back over to them for a minute. Or sorry, not the Green Tribe, Carolyn's tribe.
The orange,
purple.
Yeah. Oh no, Carolyn's purple. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I'm not going to remember their names.
Nah.
I think they are Tika because
They
I
are
remember thinking
Tika.
like, oh,
Yes,
I'd be
they're
so
Tika.
excited
I'm
to be
looking at it
like
right
named
now.
after Tikka Masala. Anyway, how is it that her tribe? I mean, I kind of know how it is, but also the question still stands. How does no one suspect that Carolyn had found the idol? Like, how weird do you have to be and how out of it do you have to seem that at no point does anyone bring up, what if it was Carolyn, though? Like, how is that never a topic of conversation?
I think there's three possibilities for why no one suspects she found the idol. The first is, you know, perhaps the simplest. The editing made it seem like everyone else was together. She was the only one that wasn't with them. And that, you know, she then had to rush it back. And then they're like, oh, where'd it go? You know, and then we're just like, how does no one get this? But in reality, they weren't all together. And then they all came back together and they were like, oh, well, like, this might have, you know, like someone might have rejoined us right after they put the thing back, you know? So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that they really just have that low, you know, like opinion of Carolyn. They're just like, yeah, no, there's no way she found it. She's crazy, and crazy people are dumb and can't do anything in this game, which, you know, real possibility. A lot of people in this game think that, you know, bigotry of low expectations and all that. So there was a third possibility that I thought of when I began this sentence, and I've now forgotten. So I'll just pass
well
it back.
done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you're very right that it could have just been the editing, and it probably was the editing that, you know, all of them except for Carolyn left, and then that might have been the exact moment she did it, or it could have been an entirely different moment, and thus they didn't have any reason to immediately suspect that it was Carolyn.
I remembered my third possibility.
Well, let me take this ball and run with it still, because regardless, the tribe only has so many people. There are so many names you can bring up. Carolyn should be one of the names just because she is on the same beach as you.
Yeah, so the third possibility is actually her name did come up, and it just didn't show it because it was less entertaining.
I suppose that's possible, only in the sense that people talking about Carolyn is not as entertaining as people talking to Carolyn.
Yep. So,
and we should maybe move on to that topic, because I feel like Carolyn is a divisive topic, especially if you're maybe not online, because Carolyn is weird, and I think the controversy here is she the good kind of weird? I feel like she's got to be very divisive. I have not been on Survivor Twitter this season, kind of done with Twitter in general. So I don't really know the exact reaction outside of what I've seen in our comments. But even in our comments, there are people who are like, oh, Carolyn is amazing. And then there are also people that are like, why? Why is this happening on my television? Carolyn
is a lot. I I think,
to put it mildly.
I think even the people that like her would agree with that. I think the people that dislike her would very strongly agree with that statement. My take on Carolyn is I'm fine with a little bit of her, but the longer she sticks around, the more I'm going to just tear my hair out, I think. It's like, this is a nice spice for the pre-merge, and dear God, don't let this, please God, get her gone before the merge.
I think in the first episode, I was like, I don't know if this is my jam or not. But then, you know whose jam it was?
Jam Jams.
Jam Jams. And that's what it took. I mean, really just the Jam Jam collaboration there with Carolyn and him recognizing that she's weird and crazy, but like it's him saying basically like, so what, I am too. Yeah. Like that was a fun way to establish that relationship because we didn't really know that it existed prior to this episode. And so just to see him saying like, yeah, she's weird and she's like, just kind of like flighty and whatever, but whatever, I'm like that too. And just like brushing it off and being like, I'm not going to judge her. She's cool. And I was like, all right, well, you know what? I like Jam Jam. So the halo effect's going to take effect.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, thus Carolyn seems fine. And I think if nothing else, I like Carolyn being the weird that she is also allows Jam Jam to be the weird that he is, right? Like if you start, it's sort of like the challenge liability thing, right? Like if you start voting out challenge liabilities, well, oh crap, you might be next in line as a challenge liability. Yeah. If you're voting out the weirdos, Jam Jam has one layer of protection. There's one layer weirder than he is.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I also think the thing about Carolyn is, I imagine that the longer she sticks around, she's going to be the butt of some jokes going forward. I think that even though her personality can be a little grating, I actually don't think that she's that bad at the game, and I think sometimes people can confuse the two. I think her read on the situations at Tribal were fairly spot on. She's like, to Jam Jam, why are you with me? And he gives an answer,
yes.
and then she says that to Carson too, and that was the more pertinent question, and Carson's like a little taken aback, and she's like, wouldn't I be the easier vote? And Carson's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. Like, she had...
I mean, yeah. Right. And having that level of self-awareness to be like, this doesn't make sense. Shouldn't it be me? Like, yeah, it probably should.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. Like, she definitely has more self-awareness than the usual weirdo type that they might cast in this role.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, at least, to see how that plays out. Now, is that going to get tiring after a few more weeks? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
But I enjoyed last night's episode, and the reason why was mostly Carolyn based. Both her screw ups, and then everyone kind of and then her reactions and other people reacting to her. So, yeah, no,
and I think,
yeah,
and we should probably get to why it was that Carson sided with them, because on the surface it certainly seems like, what the hell? What an odd collaboration that is, right? Like, you can maybe see the Jam Jam and Carolyn alliance forming, like, oh, okay, you're bonding over your like quirkiness or whatever. Carson, no, that vibe doesn't fit. He definitely seemed much more like the other two.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on what would have made him come over to the Jam Jam and Carolyn side?
I mean, I think the answer is what we didn't see, but I think what probably happened, everyone knew that Sarah didn't have a vote.
Yes. So that is almost definitely what it was, because at a certain point, if he realizes it's going to be 2-2, just don't bother. You don't want to have the tie.
Nope.
And you know what? Are you that attached to Helen? Probably not.
No.
In this case, I think he is doing the thing that we suggested last week, which is like, don't play the post-merge game pre-merge. You don't use up all your capital now.
That's right.
It is not the most important thing, and it's not the most crucial vote.
Especially because the thing about Carson is, like, yes, he seems a more natural fit with Sarah and Helen, but he also is, he is the third one for Jam Jam and Carolyn. Like they talked about going to him before they talked about going to Helen and Sarah. So it's like, so he really, I think, like, he could slide to them a lot easier than, we give him credit. Because the thing is, I think he would have been third on either of those groups.
Yes.
And so if you're third on either one, why make a big stink of it? You're not losing your main ally. You're sending home someone else's main ally. So.
Yeah. And more importantly, like, if you don't necessarily view any of these people as your longer term allies in the game, just go where the numbers are for now, right? Like, at least you have that one extra layer. Like, you can be like, oh, remember how the three of us voted together? Yeah, well, this week we're getting rid of Sarah too.
Yeah.
Like, you got still one more layer to protect you. So why not,
Yeah.
Instead of having risked all of your social capital to go against them for the previous vote, like, don't.
Yeah. I will say, I liked Carson this episode, not because I necessarily like him, but because I actually see, like, the makings of a good villain in him. Which maybe some people disagree with my assessment there, but there is a quality that he has, this, like, nerdiness that he's like, oh, I've prepared this, I've done this, I do this. And I feel like what I want to see is not Carson succeed, but Carson get foiled like he was tonight by Matthew, by someone else doing something that he prepared to do, but better.
It's often funny, not in real life, but on this show, when, like, much smarter people get outplayed by someone like a Carolyn, who there may not be a very high estimation of a Carolyn's gameplay, right? And then someone like Carson, who will undoubtedly think very highly of himself and his intelligence and his ability to play this game, just gets outplayed by that person. And it's very funny.
Yes.
So if that's the ultimate arc that we're getting here, yes, sign me up.
I'm also 100% on board with that. Because the thing is, like, I actually think that Carson is a fairly good narrator, even though he's, like, narrating from, like, I am so great, and it's like, ooh, yeah, okay, let me see you hoisted on your own petard. Like, I think Carson's someone that I'm going to enjoy rooting against, even while I think I will enjoy his presence on the season. And that's good, It's been a while since I've had, like, someone exactly like that, so.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm in favor of having people that I want to root to lose, but that aren't actively terrible to watch on television.
And
right?
that also aren't actively terrible people,
That as well. Yes. So let's talk about the person who went home tonight, which was Helen. Was there absolutely anything that you felt that she could have done differently to save herself?
No.
Great answer.
No, I mean, it's like, come on. This is like the first, it's the first vote. There's 5 people. Your closest ally doesn't have a vote. I don't know. Like, what else is there?
Yeah, I think really, I guess the only path is that she could have tried to build a relationship with Carolyn, but can you hold that against her that she didn't and couldn't? I mean, no. I mean, you're right. Ultimately, the answer is no. There wasn't much she could have done. Like,
the most is maybe she could have, like, pushed the vote to Sarah.
Yeah, I guess maybe, but then also, like, I don't feel like that was ever going to be her move, right? Like, the thing that she was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately one of the reasons that she wouldn't have tried to get Carolyn on her side is because, like, the tribe seemed to see a benefit in keeping Jam Jam around. And so, well, then of the options, yeah, it's probably going to be Carolyn that they go after.
Right. And, it might have been very different had, Bruce not been medevac, and, it might have led to, like, different alliances, different person on the bottom. I feel, I feel bad for Helen, like, she came in, she seems to be a big fan of the show. You can never tell whether someone has chops, based on just this episode or not. It's okay. So she didn't make an alliance with Jam Jam is basically why she, lost here. I think she probably was reaching out to him. Jam Jam seems a pretty popular person on his tribe. He just bonded more with Carolyn, and he sees benefit to Carolyn versus Helen. And, like in Helen, just, this is one of those things where, yes, you said that, like, they're not playing a post-merge game, pre-merge, but I think the reason why it was Helen and not Sarah is because people looked at her and they're like, she's probably slightly more threatening.
Meaning Helen was more threatening.
Yeah, than Sarah was, so, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think it would have been mildly funny if they'd gone after Carson. I don't think it was likely, but it would have been funny. But again, I don't think that was something that Helen was likely to do. So ultimately, could she have done those other things? Yes. Was it very likely given her position and her general personality type and game type? No.
Yeah.
So
which is why which is why I said, like, is there anything she could have done? Nah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe don't lose that challenge. That was about it. That was the thing you could have hoped for.
I mean, why didn't she build a giant snake puzzle in her backyard?
I mean, look, that's what I do. That's actually how I spend most of my weekends, is in the backyard playing with a giant snake puzzle. Let's switch tribes again, because we briefly touched on something earlier, and I want to circle back to it because we saw on the Green Tribe the Matt and Franny romance, and I did mention that Claire was not so much enjoying that romance, but that wasn't the only Claire moment that we got. She was rolling her eyes at that, but she was also proclaiming herself the czar of laziness and happily volunteering to sit out of the second straight challenge. Is Claire the new Courtney? Do you just love her now? Do I love her now? I might love her now.
I think you love her now. Yes. No, I mean, she very well might be. I hope so. It would be great, to get another Courtney. It's been way too long, I feel like, since we've had someone of that, like, type of archetype. Go Claire. I'm all in favor of her. Like, this sarcasm and the person that's like, yeah, I'm not helping you a challenge, I'll sit out.
And not even just like I'll sit out, but the eagerness with which she sits out,
like
and the joy
Sandra
that she takes.
Level. Like, of course,
it's really great. I mean, and not only that, like, just loudly and proudly proclaiming your laziness. What else could you possibly do to earn the endorsement of this podcast?
I mean, that's the most important thing.
I mean, I'm this close to naming her our new queen. So it's, give it a couple episodes, but man, she's on the right path if that's what she's going for. All right. So let's look forward. There are, of course, other tribes and other players. What are your thoughts on those other tribes? Let's start with the Orange Tribe because, again, you weren't here last week, and that was the bulk of the discussion last week was that tribe. Is there anybody that stands out to you on that tribe or any storylines you're interested in?
I think Matthew stands out to me there, despite the fact they called him a coward at the beginning of this episode. I still think he's, he's the one that, stands out to me. But I think Brandon he's gonna be like a time bomb for someone. He definitely struck me as like no chill with playing with people who are not gonna want to play that way. Everything about him last week with Maddie I thought was honestly kind of funny. She's like, ooh, let's keep this to ourselves. And he's like, don't you tempt me, vile woman. Everyone, I found the key. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. He's a monkey wrenching people, and the funny thing is, they're not going to vote him out because they think they're going to need his strength. So he's just going to continue, I think, fouling up plans there until the post-merge. And then he's going to go home pretty quick, and I think that's the perfect amount of time for Brandon.
Yeah, I similarly feel like he is not long for this game. He's just... Whereas a couple seasons ago, Danny, you could see like Danny could just roll with anybody. Yes. He had that vibe that like people were just going to get along with him. And he might have been a standout athlete, but all the same, he was like just chill. And people were like, yeah, I could absolutely work with Danny. I don't get that same vibe from Brandon.
No, I think I think the tensions with Brandon are going to mount very quick. And it's just going to be really funny to see them try to navigate whether or not they decide to keep him for his strength or not. And I think they're going to make the wrong decision because if me and he was as much a wild card as I think he is, I would be getting rid of him now, and I don't care that I might lose another challenge because of it.
I would get rid of Kane because anytime you can get rid of a law student, you absolutely should.
That's a fair point. They are the worst. Also, he's Canadian. I don't know if you knew that, which is just a
Unfortunately, I did know that, despite my best efforts to not learn the Canadian. You don't happen to know if there is a second Canadian this season, do you?
I'm looking at it now, and there is not. So that's
damn!
That's
I was
the only one,
I was excited to play a surprise game of Guess the Canadian.
Yeah, no.
Oh well.
There is someone from Minnesota, which is kind of U.S. is Canada, but
yeah, so close. The accent is in the right range, but it's not the same. They don't have ketchup chips in Minnesota, probably. I wouldn't know, but I assume not.
They have Duck Duck Grey Duck, which seems like a Canadian thing. I don't know if it actually is.
Yeah, sure. That sounds like a thing.
No, they call Duck Duck Goose Duck Duck Grey Duck, and they will talk at length about how it's the better game if you ever meet a Minnesotan.
That sounds very Minnesota.
It's very Minnesota.
To even have opinions about such a thing.
It is, yes.
All right, so let's switch tribes. Let's go over to the purple tribe, which we had briefly discussed. Anyone stand out in that tribe for you?
Jam Jam.
Of course.
Yeah. Honestly, most of the purple tribe is, I think interesting personalities. Maybe not. I feel like I don't have a good read on Sarah yet, but all I know is that she lost her vote and she wasn't really a factor in this one, but I liked Helen. She went home. Okay. But Jam Jam, definitely a standout. Carolyn, big personality, I still haven't decided where I think how I feel that Carolyn will vary week to week, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. And as I said, like Carson, I think seems like someone I'm going to enjoy rooting against. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you in that, it seems like Sarah and Helen were the people I was least interested in on that tribe. And so at least one of them is now gone. And it seems likely that the next one to be gone would be Sarah. So if nothing else, you're keeping the most entertaining players from that tribe, which after suffering through last season, please just keep the entertaining players around. Yeah. This is all I need.
Yeah, same. And, I just remembered why I think Carson's going to be a good villain. It's because of his bullshit FBI interrogation stuff. That's the moment when I was like, oh, this guy is a villain. Anyone who's like, I studied FBI interrogation, I'm like, so you studied bullshit science. Excellent.
Yes.
And you're going to
hook him up to a polygraph, buddy.
Yeah, and you're going to be making wrong decisions based on this. Fantastic. I'm here for that. So.
Yeah, I think right now for me, the Purple Tribe is probably the most entertaining. And that's just because I think it has the most personality on it. In really 90% of that is Jam Jam and Carolyn. But I will give you some percentage of that would just be that Carson could potentially be entertaining, not for himself, but for what he represents.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the right way to look at him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's move on to the final tribe, the Green Tribe. Anyone jump out at you over there?
We talked about Claire. I think that she's I think she's probably the most entertaining over there. We also talked about Matt and Franny's relationship. Sorry, I was catching a breath there. And
I thought you just blanked on Franny. Or you were going to do what I did and think that she was Kellen from Ghost Island, because it's, again, I just can't get over the comparison.
And then, Danny did, impress me kind of with how he handled the idol today. But I have no opinion on the other two, to the point where if I was not looking at a list of contestants right now, I would not know their name.
Yeah, I think, this week getting to see more of Claire and specifically how she played off those other people did make me more into the Green Tribe. I very much enjoy Claire, and I'm hoping that we get more of that, because I think I was so burned by last season that I need something. I need that level of entertainment from this show again, because I got the absolute opposite last season. So
yeah, I agree.
I do know that one of the remaining players on this tribe is Josh, and Josh seems perfectly fine. And then,
let's get him out of here then. He seems perfectly fine.
Exactly.
That sounds boring to me. Go home.
Right. Sure. I bet he's a lovely human. Nothing about Josh has jumped out at me so far. I am interested, at least in the short term, in the Matt and Franny storyline. And as you said, if it blows up in an entertaining way, I'm here for that too. I mean, that would be great if, especially if it's Matt that gets burned by it and Matt's the one that gets sent home because of a showman's. Just flip that whole script on its head. I'm here for it. That'd be great.
I really want to see it. I think it's the storyline on that tribe I'm most rooting for.
Yeah, we've waited a long time for it to happen. This will be the first. All right. Anything else you want to discuss about this week or this season?
No, I just wanted to say thanks for having me here on International Women's Day. I'm very, very excited you invited me for this one.
You were, of course, my first call.
I know.
When I saw what the date was, and I said, we have to get some representation. I'm going to call Matt.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you were available. I know your schedule was obviously very busy because of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to work in some time for me. If those of you listening would like to find our website, it is purplerockpodcast.com. If you want to find Twitter, I'm not live tweeting anymore. I should probably hand that duty off to somebody. The show is Purple Rock Pod. Matt is Purple Rock Matt, and other people are Purple Rock, their names. And we, of course, have a fantasy league. Our teams are now locked because once episode 2 starts, you can't pick your teams anymore. So this week we'll have a fantasy post going up on Monday with actual standings, and you can see how good or terribly your fantasy team is doing. And of course, as Andy mentioned last week, you should no longer be expecting copywritten music at the end of this podcast. It was a terrible decision from the beginning. I feel so vindicated for having suggested it was a terrible idea years ago, when really I suggested that merely because it was laziness on my part, because I have no idea of any music that's been made since 2008. So it was really all me just not wanting to have to suggest any music. But it came through for me because we had some copyright violations. So instead, let's hear this copyright-free theme song.
This is the copyright-free outro to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast.